So in pre-war Singapore, there was this one guy whose name was just synonymous with incredible wealth. But what's even more amazing is his generosity. The real question is, right, how did he even make all that money? And maybe more importantly, what did he do with it? We're going to dive into the story of Ramasamy Nadar. Now, you might not know the name, but trust me, his legacy is everywhere.
So where are we getting this story from? Well, it's actually drawn from a book put out by this Singapore Tamil Youths Club. They did this whole thing to commemorate Singapore's bicentennial, and the idea was to highlight some of these really key figures who, maybe didn't get the spotlight they deserved in the history books. And Ramasamy Nadar, he is the perfect example of that.
Okay, before we get into the nitty-gritty of his life, I want to start with a story that just says it all. So let me ask you something. What's the grandest, most over-the-top gesture you can possibly imagine, like to welcome someone? Just take a second. Picture it. You got something in mind?
All right, whatever you're thinking, I'm pretty sure it doesn't top this. Get this, in 1929, this man, Ramasamy Nadar, decides that the only proper way to welcome a special guest is to go out and buy a brand new Rolls-Royce just for that one occasion. I mean, that one single act tells you everything you need to know, right? We are talking about a guy with some serious, serious money and influence. So yeah, let's totally unpack that. A Rolls-Royce welcome. Because see, buying a car like that, it wasn't just some flashy move, showing off how rich he was. No. It was a really smart, powerful statement about his community, about respect, and about his place in pre-war Singapore. So who was this important guest? Well, it was the famous social reformer E.V. Ramasamy, who a lot of people know as Thantai Periyar. And our guy, Ramasamy Nadar, he was the head of the whole welcome committee. So he basically orchestrated a reception that was just one for the history books. Just try to picture it. You've got these huge crowds packed into the Tank Road railway station, all of them buzzing, waiting for this legendary figure to arrive. And how is he going to be driven? In that brand spanking new Rolls-Royce. And it gets crazier. The Rolls-Royce wasn't just driving solo. Oh no, it was leading a procession of 120 other cars. Can you imagine that? 120. This wasn't just a simple welcome to town. This was a full-on, city-stopping spectacle of respect. And the craziest part? It was all put together by this one man. The way people wrote about it at the time really captures the feeling. There's this one quote that says, "The procession was drenched in the rain of love from the great masses." I love that phrasing. It tells you this was way more than a parade. It was a genuine outpouring of love and admiration from the public. And that journey from the station to Nadar's house, it took a full hour and a half. That's how big this thing was. So this all begs the question, right? How on earth does a person become so wealthy and so powerful that they can just make something like this happen? To really get it, we've got to rewind. Let's go back to his much more humble beginnings and see how he made that incredible climb to the top. His life story is just an amazing journey. He shows up in Singapore in 1912. He's only 23 years old, coming from a tiny village in Tamil Nadu. And then boom, within a single decade, he's built this huge business empire across Malaya and Singapore. It's the classic rags to riches story, for sure. But there's a really interesting twist to it. And, nothing sums up his journey better than the two very different nicknames people gave him. He started out as a successful liquor contractor, which earned him the name the Toddy King. But he completely transformed his public image, eventually becoming known as the Wealthy Tamil. And that second name, that wasn't just about the money in his bank account. It was about his status, his respect as a leader in the community. So how did he do it? How did he build that empire? Well, the man was smart. He diversified. He was into textiles, groceries. He became a major supplier to all those big rubber estates across Malaya. Then there was real estate. The guy was a magnate. He owned, for example, 10 three-story houses just on River Valley Road. He was also a construction contractor. I mean, he was so successful, he ended up being one of the highest taxpayers in all of Singapore. That tells you something. And here's a really cool little piece of trivia that connects his story right to the present day. Turns out, Ramasamy Nadar was the maternal grandfather of the famous Tamil actor Sarath Kumar. How about that? A direct line from a pre-war business tycoon to a modern-day movie star. Okay, so making a ton of money is one thing, right? Building a business empire is impressive. But what really, really defines a person's legacy is what they do with it. So now let's get into how Nadar took all that wealth and poured it right back into the community.
And his generosity wasn't just small gestures. Let's look at some of the numbers. In 1940, as war was looming, he gave a $5,000 donation to the Malaya Patriotic Fund. Now, that might not sound like a lot today, but back then, it was a huge amount of money. So huge, in fact, that a newspaper at the time called it a record donation.
Then there was this. He gifted a shophouse valued at $10,000 to the Singapore Tamil Reform Association. Just think about what a shophouse on Serangoon Road would be worth today. We're talking millions, easily.
And here's what I love about this. He didn't just hand over the keys and walk away. He also gave them another $5,000 purely for the building's maintenance. That's real foresight. It's that kind of long-term thinking that earned him yet another title, the patron who gave a building for the Tamil language. And his support was so widespread. I mean, just look at this list. He wasn't one of those guys who just wrote a check and disappeared. No, he was deeply involved. He took on leadership roles. We're talking patron, vice president, president, in all these crucial organizations. He was actively shaping the future of the entire Indian community in Malaya. So all of this, his business success, his incredible generosity, his community leadership, it all leads to this moment. The ultimate formal recognition for a lifetime of work that was about so much more than just making money.
In 1940, he was given one of the highest honors you could get back then. He was appointed a Justice of Peace, or JP, by the British colonial government. And you have to understand, this wasn't some title you could buy your way into. It was a massive sign of respect, an official recognition of your integrity in your service to society.
And this next part, this quote, this tells you everything you need to know about the man's character. So naturally, organizations wanted to throw big celebrations for him getting this JP title. And what was his response? He basically told them, hey, let's not waste money on a feast during wartime. Instead, he asked them to donate that money to the war fund. For him, it was always about service first. Always. And that really brings his entire journey full circle, doesn't it? He started out his career as the Toddy King, a name tied to a business that some might have even seen as controversial. And he ended his public life as a Justice of Peace, a title that symbolizes the absolute highest level of public trust and respect. What a transformation. It's just truly remarkable. You know, his story really started with profit, but it ended with purpose. And it's such a powerful reminder that real wealth, true wealth, isn't really about what you have in the bank. It's about what you give back. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it?